Okay, we are live. Hey, y'all. Hey, 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 hey.
Hey,
We are
hey.
live tonight. This is our very first time going live in 2023. Um,
In
so please
2024.
definitely bear with us. We are trying to make sure that we are taking care of everything. I also wanted to make sure that my friends on the other platform knew that we were live. So let me post real quick. But as you come in in the room, make sure that you share your where you're from. Go ahead and share that in the chat. And if you are actually studying for your board exam, feel free to be a part of this conversation tonight. This is all going to be about PTCB board exam information, and it's about getting you across that finish line. Real quick, shout out to my friend Tiffany for taking her board exam today at 3 o'clock and passing her
Okay.
state. Yes,
Yes.
she
Way
passed.
to
She
go, Tiffany.
passed. Yeah, so this is really, really good. We're excited. We know that the content works. I'm trying to find the camera. I'm looking over here because I'm looking at myself, but the camera's over there. So anyway, friends, I'm glad y'all are showing up. Please like, tag, and share this live. Let everybody else know that we're in because we are about to get started. Now, next week, I'm gonna have some better things for not better, but as I learn this platform, we're gonna make sure that we do more. But let's go ahead and jump into it. I have one of my students with me tonight, Miss Aisha Sanders. She is taking the 15-week class, and so she is going to be your mouthpiece. But also feel free to drop the comments in the chat, um, and definitely be a part of this opportunity. So let's go ahead and get started. And can everybody, friend, can you, or excuse me, Aisha, can you see my, can you see my presentation?
Yes, I see the
Okay.
flyer.
Okay, wait 1 second. Let me get this going. Let me get back here. All righty. Add to the stage. All right. This is a really cool platform, by the way, too, y'all. This is our very first time. So let's go ahead and jump into the temperature conversions. These temperature conversions is going to be something that you see all the time. You know, this is not anything that you may not have seen before. But Aisha, can you share with us, like, what is your, I guess, what's your background, or if have you ever had to use temperature conversions? When you think about temperature, what is the first thing you think about?
When I think about temperature, the first thing I think about is Fahrenheit because that's what we typically use. I think that in like Canada they use Celsius
Mm-hmm.
most often. So that's my knowledge of Fahrenheit versus Celsius.
Okay. Okay. Um, when I think about the temperature conversions, I always think about, the refrigerator in the pharmacy because there is a refrigerator that keeps the medication cold. Some medications like the NuvaRing, that's a birth control, that is kept in the refrigerator. You have some diabetic medications that are kept in the refrigerator too, and you also have different vaccines that are refrigerated as well. So as you are learning about storage and how to properly store medication, you're going to be thinking about your refrigerator. So when you're in the pharmacy, the refrigerator does need to be checked, and it should be checked by a human because we want to make sure that that refrigerator is reading the temperature that is going to keep those medications at their very, at stable, if you will.
Okay.
Okay.
So, question.
Uh-huh.
Do different medications need to be at a different temperature?
Yes. So you have some medications that need to be, hold on, somebody's telling me that the chat is off. Okay. See that the chat is on now. Some medications need to be kept in the refrigerator, some need to be frozen, and some need to be room temperature.
Okay, because I was
Okay.
I was thinking like if they're in the refrigerator, if they okay, that makes sense. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. So like
Okay,
you have some of your medications that are reconstituted with water, like amoxicillin,
okay,
that pink medication that everybody used to give their children.
Yeah.
that needs to be kept in the
Refrigerator.
refrigerator, because that is what's going to keep the preserve the medicine. You know, it's been mixed with water, and typically when medicine is kept in the refrigerator, it's going to have an expiration date of anywhere from 7 to 14 days. I like to say 10 to be on the safe side,
Okay.
but those medications are going to be kept in the refrigerator, and it'll make sure too that the person who needs the medicine is getting, you know, what they need, and we're not sharing it. That's another thing that we do as parents. We share medication between kids, and we should not be doing that.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
So these are just some formulas that are going to help you to convert from Fahrenheit to Celsius, and then from Celsius to Fahrenheit. These are my formulas that I think are very good. If you don't have a calculator, make sure you get you one. And I'm looking for one, but I guess I'll just use my phone. And while y'all are jotting down, let me turn this light down. It's like in my eyes. Okay. Hopefully y'all can still see me. But these formulas are good. Now, remember, when you take your board exam, you can use a calculator. They will provide you with a calculator. There are some calculators that are digital in these testing sites, and then some of them may just be basic calculators. Okay.
Okay.
So remember this formula, because we're going to use it pretty, you know, coming up on our next slide here. So let me also take a picture of it. And if you are in the chat, please make sure. Let me see if my friends are saying anything over there in the chat. Okay. I want to make sure that I'm talking to y'all. Y'all talk back to us, okay? Make sure that you are participating. So here we are. We're going to have an opportunity to look at this. Now, what I did in the middle is I kind of, you know, showed you how to solve it. But let's see if we can put those formulas together. So when we're going from 80 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit, we're going to use the decimal formula. And stop me at any time if you need to, because I don't want to, you know, go too fast. But when we're going from 80 degree Celsius to Fahrenheit, we're going to use the decimal formula. Okay. So I'm going to put in the chat um, what we'll be doing and how we're going to use this. And then my hopes is that I can use my whiteboard at some point, but I think it's going to give y'all a glare right now, so I won't try that. But in order to get from Celsius to Fahrenheit, we're going to do 80 times 1.8 plus 32. And what does that give you?
176.
176. Very good. And the thing that I want you to remember about Celsius to Fahrenheit is Celsius is always a smaller number, and Fahrenheit is a bigger number. And I'm typing this in the chat. And then Fahrenheit is going to be that bigger number. So if you do this, you know, this math, and you're like, wait a minute, is that correct? You will see if Fahrenheit is smaller than Celsius, you probably did something wrong, because that's what we look at our temperature at, as you know, pretty much on our phones. Wherever you see the temperature on the news, is normally in Fahrenheit and not really in Celsius if you're in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then when we look at 72 degree Fahrenheit, 72 degree Fahrenheit. Now we're going from Fahrenheit to Celsius. So that means that this number is going to go from a bigger number to a smaller number. Okay. Is everybody keeping up with us?
Okay.
So from Fahrenheit to Celsius, when you do that, what do you all get? What do you get, Mike?
22.2. Actually,
22.2.
but we rounding it up. Okay.
Yeah. So that's going to be that 72 minus 32 divided by 1.8. Now there is one where you can use a a fraction, but to me, that is a little bit more difficult in my opinion, and it also can just cause a lot of confusion. I like to keep the confusion to a minimum. Okay, look, we ain't got time for all that.
We
Uh,
definitely need to keep it simple for me because
let's
math is
keep it
not my
very
thing.
simple. I tell y'all all the time, if you can count money, you can count this. You can count this
I,
stuff here.
I like it.
hmm and then we have 65 degrees Celsius, and we're going from 65 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. Now, tonight, y'all got these little cheat sheets with these answers on the side. Next week, it ain't gonna be like that. So take these notes, friends. All my friends, if y'all are new and you're just coming into the room, we talking about the PTCB exam. We're reviewing and we're looking at temperature conversions. Please drop in the chat where you are joining from, city and state, or you can just drop your city. I'm from H-Town and I love it. So wherever you from, let us know. We want to know where you are. But from 65 to Fahrenheit, what did you get?
Oh, that's 149.
149. Yes, we're all on the right path. And then the last one is 32-degree Fahrenheit, and we're going to Celsius. 32-degree Fahrenheit to Celsius. And this one could be kind of tricky. Huh?
That's 0.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This one can be kind of tricky because you're doing 32 minus 32 divided by 1.8. And when you do that, you're like, okay, well, how am I going to do something divided by, and it can be a little tricky, something divided by 0.
Well, what automatic, even before I looked at the math part of it, 32 is freezing in Fahrenheit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's automatic. And I don't know how I know this. I just know it that it's 0.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I had already did it in my head.
It was just like a mental thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't have to make it hard. That's the good thing about math, is sometimes math is just where it comes to you quick. And then, but then sometimes you do have to think about it.
Okay. Well done.
Okay. And make sure you stop me if you have any questions at all. The next thing I wanted to share with you is how to read a label, because sometimes we get into pharmacy and we're not familiar. We see these labels because we see them on our drugs and things like that. But then when it's actually your turn to like read it, because you're in pharmacy, it can be kind of, it's a different experience. And so, the first thing here is the 20 milliliters, and that is the total volume that is in an ampule. This particular ampule is 20 milliliters. So the milliliters are always going to be in the left-hand corner. And whenever you see them sitting off by themselves, that tells you how much is actually in that particular ampule. And then over here is talking about the amount of a drug inside an ampule. So you may have something that says like this one says 500 milligrams per 20 milliliters. So that means that there are 500 milligrams in this entire ampule. And I don't have an ampule in front of me, but ampules are very small and they're clear. I just got like some lip liner in front of me. I don't have anything else, but ampules can be small and they're clear. And this one just basically shows that it is 500 milligrams total in this entire ampule. So if we pulled all of the liquid in the ampule, we would have 500 milligrams altogether of medication, which is the strength of the medicine.
Okay.
Is that making sense?
Yes.
Okay. And then if I got to repeat it, I can. And so that means that now let's try to see if we can break this down. So if there's 500 milligrams in 20 milliliters, then we want to think about how many milligrams are in 1 milliliter. And in order to do that, we're going to do 500 divided by 20, and that gives us 25, which is what you see right here.
At the bottom. Drug. Okay.
So let's just imagine this is an ampule. This is 25 milligrams. Let's imagine this is 1 milliliter. Excuse me.
Okay.
So if this is 1 milliliter, I got 25 here. 2 milliliters, I got 50. 3 milliliters, I got 75. 4 milliliters, I got 100. And you keep going on and on.
Okay.
Make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. And it's just like counting, almost like tally marks in a sense. Each
So like counting by 5?
For this particular one, because each drug can be different. But for this particular drug, each ampule, no, each milliliter is going to be 25 milligrams. So it's almost like, I got one even better. We eat cookies. And when they calorie counting, they may say that 15 cookies is a serving size.
Right.
And out of those 15 cookies, if you eat them all, that may equal up to 1 serving, and that 1 serving may equal up to 1,000 calories.
Right.
But then you see what I'm saying? In order to figure out how much one cookie, how many calories is in one cookie, you would have to divide that 1,000 by the serving size to find out how much is in one cookie. Because somebody may say, well, I don't want to eat 1,000 calories at a time. I may want to just eat 250. So how do you figure out what's 250 out of those calories?
Okay. So that's when you would divide. Okay.
And you'll get more practice with this, because as we continue to go throughout the program, there are going to be times where you're going to utilize that. So don't worry yourself at all. But this is just an introduction.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll get more practice with this. This one here, this is a little fun thing. It says the label shown below is the stock available at your pharmacy. So when we think about stock in a pharmacy, we want to think about just like how we think about our pantry. You know, there are some things we're going to have in our pantry and some things we're not going to have. I know right now, I think I have cereal in mine. I have water. I think we have some chips. I don't think we got no cookies, but I know we got some crackers. Okay. So when you think about what's at home in your pantry, that's the same thing in your, we're going to use your pantry as your pharmacy. So if somebody was at the store and they're like, hey, I'm at the store right now, what all do we need? You would go then look in your pantry, your pharmacy, to see what is missing so they can replace it while they're at the store. So whenever we think about stock available at the pharmacy, we're thinking about what we have on hand.
Okay.
And it says how many milligrams of diazepam will be needed to dispense to the patient if the prescription is for 4 milliliters. Well, let's back up for a second. Diazepam is also known as Valium, and this is a Control 4 drug. This is good information, so y'all write this down. This is a Control 4 drug, okay? Valium is used, it can be used for anxiety, it can be used as a muscle relaxer, it can be used for depression, and it is a Control 4 drug because it has the propensity to be addictive. Okay, so like you see where you see that C and then that IV there, that's C4 in Roman numerals.
Wait, where do you see it on the label?
Right here.
You ain't got no pointer.
Oh, ain't got no pointer.
Oh, I see it behind it. Okay, I see it.
Yeah, it's behind it. It's behind it. Okay, this whole time I thought I had a pointer. I ain't got no pointer. But yes, so the C4 that lets you know we're dealing with a controlled substance. Okay. And this says how many milligrams of diazepam will a patient need to be dispensed if the prescription is 4 milliliters? Well, 5 milligrams is in 1 milliliter. And if we dispense 4 milliliters, how many milligrams will a patient receive? And that's easy because if 5 is in, yep. That is it, okay? Retail math at your finest, and this is the type of calculations that is happening at the retail pharmacies, and you just did that very quickly.
I feel smart.
You are. Pat yourself on the back. Okay, now we are going to slide into the drug laws, but before we do, I want to check in with you on the math. How are you feeling about that? Was there anything there that caught you off guard? Anything you want to revisit?
No, that was pretty simple.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. So now we're going to talk about the drug laws, and this is talking about Durham Humphrey. Durham Humphrey is an amendment that requires a disclaimer on all medications that require a prescription. So the Durham Humphrey Amendment says, caution, federal law prohibits the dispensing without a prescription. So any medication that comes in this vial needs to have a prescription in order for the patient to receive it. Okay. So let's talk about that for a second. Advil, that
That's
doesn't
over the counter.
that's an over-the-counter medication. That doesn't require a prescription. What about Zyrtec?
Zyrtec is over the counter.
Yep, over the counter, over the counter. What about Benadryl?
That's over the counter.
Yep, over the counter. No prescription needed. When we think about penicillin,
That is a prescription. That needs a
yep,
prescription.
yep, you need a prescription for that. And he is the one that said, wait a minute. Because see, prior to this amendment, people could go into the pharmacy and pretty much get anything they wanted without a prescription.
Mm-hmm.
So in April, I went to Tulum, Mexico for a bachelorette party. And right around the corner from our Airbnb, there was a pharmacy. And so we all took a trip, a few of us ladies took a trip to the pharmacy. And I'm always excited to see pharmacies in other countries because I just kind of want to know what it looks like there, what their protocols are, so on and so forth. And so I walked in there and they had stuff just on the walls, and I mean, you whatever you wanted, whether it was Adderall or amoxicillin, any medication that you felt like you needed, you didn't need a prescription. You can just say, "Can I get one of those? Can I get one of those? Can I get one of those?" And the U.S. used to be just like that.
Okay.
So Durham Humphrey was like, "Wait a minute, these people need to be supervised." So whenever you get a prescription for a medication, you're under the supervision of a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And that is requiring a doctor's order because now you're under this doctor's supervision, and we want to make sure that if there's any side effects, if there's any adverse effects, that we're documenting those, and the doctor can make changes if necessary. So, and we can talk about side effects and adverse effects, later on in our next live. But the Durham Humphrey Amendment is the one that made the distinction between OTC drugs and prescription drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about, if you ever get asked a question on your board exam, who made the distinction between OTC and prescription drugs, it was Durham Humphrey. Okay. The Durham Humphrey says, if you're getting amoxicillin, you better have a prescription for it if you in the United States. Okay. That was him that said that. When we think about the 1983 Orphan Drug Act, it's just like it sounds. It is just like it sounds. The Orphan Drug Act is normally where people have been diagnosed with some type of rare disease that the United States is not very sure of. And we're trying to figure out how to treat this person. And in order to treat them, sometimes it's very cost effective. Sometimes it's very expensive to do it. And so, with that being said, the Orphan Drug Act has said, you know what? We're going to ease the restrictions when it comes to trying to treat people with rare diseases. We're going to ease the restrictions. We're going to ease the process, and we're going to allow this institution or this doctor or whomever is treating this patient an opportunity to find treatment for this rare disease without having to go through all of the paperwork and without having to spend thousands and millions of dollars just to find treatment for this patient.
Was this did this come out? Wasn't this was 83 when HIV was first like a big thing? Or when they were
It was
talking
in the
about
80s when HIV did come out. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
hmm when it was where it was very rampant and running through the communities.
Okay.
And so, but for it to be a rare disease, it would be 1 in every 200,000 people,
Okay. That's the
right?
definition of it being a rare disease.
Right. So
Okay.
if it's 10 in 200,000, it's not rare.
Okay.
But one person in every 200,000 people is what makes the disease a very rare disease.
Okay.
Okay. Over 90. This one is easy. So over 90, when you think about this one, just think about counsel. The pharmacists have to give counsel at the time of purchase to all patients who are receiving a new prescription. So y'all, when y'all go to their pharmacy, make sure that they are asking you if you need counsel, and if they are not, they are breaking the over 90 rule. So for those of you who like to make sure people following directions, this is a good law to follow, a good law to know, because this will allow you to know if your local pharmacy is operating at their highest capacity, and that is making sure that you know that you are, entitled to counsel.
You know what's funny? I used to just think that that was customer service. I didn't know that that was a law that they was doing.
A
That
lot
they
of people say that.
yeah.
I've heard that before. I actually have heard that before. So then, is that do you deny it, or do you take counsel?
I usually didn't read.
So do you
Sorry.
deny it every time? Even, I mean, you never really get the counsel.
Um, you know, a lot of times they won't go ahead and offer the counseling. They just go ahead and give it to you and
hmm
ask you, do you have any questions?
Right.
Especially I've noticed like they'll do that if it's something like an addictive pain medicine, or like if you had a baby and it's something that you have to refrigerate, they may go into a lot of detail with you
hmm
about it. Something like that. Something if it has specific detail, they would just go, from what I can remember, they would just go ahead and tell you. You need to
Okay.
make sure you eat something with this.
Yeah.
They just go ahead and tell you versus them asking you. Now sometimes they'll ask, but I don't, yeah, most of the times I will say no because I'm going to read. I always read to see, do I need to eat before I
hmm
take this, or how do I need to take this? Is it going to affect? Is it going to make me sick? Do I need to take it at night? Whatever the case may be.
hmm Yeah, that's good that you are, and see, that's the advantage that some individuals have. But when we have our friends who are new to the States, they may not speak the language. There's a language barrier, or individuals who may have a little bit of an impediment when it comes to, speak the speech impediment, or even reading. Then we are required, not us as technicians, but the pharmacist is required to offer counsel. And during that time, they are going over the drug therapy.
That's why the pharmacist always comes to the window. Like if
hmm
you get it out that makes so much sense now. I was
Yep,
like, why they stopping that man from what he doing?
yep,
Okay,
yep. So,
that makes sense.
and what the pharmacist is doing before they come to your window, they like looking at the medicine. They're checking it on the inside, because the computer tells the pharmacist what color the pill should be.
Okay,
So the pharmacists kind of pull it out a little bit, because as technicians, we feel it. The pharmacist is checking. They are the ones verifying the medications, and everything that we do in the pharmacy is verified by the pharmacist.
okay.
So they're pulling out the medication, looking at it, making sure that it's the color and it matches what's on the screen. They're closing it up. They're looking at the patient's profile to see if anything in this medication is going to contraindicate what they already are contradict, not contraindicate, contradict what they're already taking.
Okay.
So that means if a person is on birth control and they get an antibiotic prescribed, the pharmacist is going to tell that patient use extra precaution
Precaution.
because
Yep.
this antibiotic will lessen the effect of your birth control.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
So they're doing all of that to review. They're wanting to see, does the patient need to eat with this? Avoid grapefruit juice. Maybe don't drink any alcohol. A lot of times when people take antibiotics, they should not be drinking alcohol. And I see people do it all the time. They on antibiotics and they drinking alcohol. I'm
Yep.
scared because I don't like to throw up. I don't want to be sick. I don't want none of them type of problems. So if they tell me don't do something, you best believe I ain't doing it. Okay. When we think about maintaining narcotics, so there are 4 DEA forms that are pretty frequently used in the pharmacy. You got the 224 that is renewed every 3 years. That is the form that the pharmacy needs to fill in order to dispense controlled substance. So that's like Percocets, Ritalin, Adderall, Xanax, that type of thing. If they want to dispense controlled substance drugs, they have to renew this form every 3 years. There are some pharmacies that do not dispense controlled substance drugs. If y'all know, and if you all have been following me, you know that my very first job was in a pediatric pharmacy. Well, that pediatric pharmacy did not dispense any controlled substance drugs. So they did not have a form 224 on file because they were not dispensing controlled substance medication, because they were working primarily with children, and children really don't get, prescribed that type of medicine. They were primarily used for cough and cold, infections, and things like that. A lot of kids had strep throat. A lot of those kids had some sort of upper respiratory situation. Not really anything that caused pain, but stuff that antibiotics could take care of. And then Form 225 is to distribute and manufacture controlled substance. So that's going to be more so for people who are the drug distributors, right? That's going to be more so for the manufacturers. That's not going to be for the pharmacy, because we don't manufacture anything. Okay, we don't distribute, we dispense. When you think about distribute, you want to think about mass quantities. We dispense medications to individuals. That's what we do in the pharmacy. And then Form 363, this is to run a narcotic treatment program. So I don't know, have you seen that show on Netflix called Painkillers?
I haven't seen Painkillers yet, but I am familiar with, like, I've watched Intervention.
Mm.
So those places where they take them to detox, they would have to have a Form 363.
Yep.
Okay.
In order to do that, because when people go through a detox, especially from some sort of opioid, they are normally given methadone.
Yep.
To help wean them off. And methadone is used again to help wean the patient off of the drug that they were just, on, addicted to. So there are clinics, and I think on Painkillers, they show you where this young man is coming up and he's taking the methadone out of a cup and he's drinking it. It's red. And it's to make the body feel like it's still getting the chemical that it was addicted to, because once people are addicted to something, the body is still looking for the chemical.
Mm-hmm.
And then Form 41 is to return to reverse distributor. That just means that you're sending the medication back.
Right. So that those drives where they are turning in old expired medicines, you have to have a Form 41.
No, now that is the take back program that you're talking about. So
Okay.
local pharmacies partner with the police department to do take back programs to take back expired drugs that's laying around people's home, or to take back drugs that they're no longer utilizing. And we use these take back drugs because we don't want people to flush medication down the toilet. We don't want them to throw it out the window. We don't want it to pollute the environment, and we don't want it to get into our sewer system because all of our water is recycled.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
So what
that's
are they referring to when I'm
now
sure you
for, oh, go ahead.
I was just asking, so what give me an example of what they're referring to in this reverse distributor.
Okay, so Form 41 would be used in the pharmacy. Let's say the pharmacy ordered a bulk of amoxicillin and the amoxicillin expired before they could use it, and they need to
Oh,
get
okay.
it off the shelf. So
Oh, and
they're
they return it back to the distributor. Okay, that makes sense.
returning
Okay.
it back to the distributor.
Okay.
Yep. And they say return to reverse distributor. It that is so kind of
It's
confusing.
yeah, okay.
It's a,
Why
but
did he say return to distributor?
and that's exactly what they're doing is just returning it.
Okay.
Okay. Then the next one, this little slide here is going to talk about the 5 levels based on the potential for abuse. So heroin, LSD, crack cocaine, crack cocaine is Schedule 1. Cocaine is Schedule 2 because cocaine is used in the hospital for nosebleeds.
I never knew that until I read it last night.
Cocaine is used in the hospitals for nosebleeds. But crystal meth, all of that, that's class 1. And then class 2 is going to be medicinal drugs. So we know marijuana is a medicinal drug in certain states,
Yes.
right? All controlled 2 drugs must be locked up in a cabinet. And the only person who's going to have the key to that is the pharmacist. Okay, and then the U.S. Attorney General is the one who assigns the schedule for a drug. They're the ones that give the schedule for the drug. Oh, my friend on here. Let me see if she's still on here. Is she got away? They said that it's not allowing them to chat. Let me see something.
You gotta take it off of because I'm looking at it on the thing. You can't allow it for children because if you allow it for children on YouTube, it won't let people chat.
Oh, so I need to change the settings for our channel from children to adults.
Yes.
To grown people. This is for the grown people, okay? Children, this is not for y'all. This is not for the kids. Okay, well, I'll make sure we make that. We'll remove it. Okay.
Okay. Wait, friend, go back.
Oh,
I
let me
mean,
go.
Lindsay, go back. Okay, you can go ahead now.
Okay. Now, prescription regulations. Prescription regulations. This is where, oh, it looks like this is blocking too. Let me see if I can take that off. But this is where we talk about what doctors can prescribe medications in the pharmacy, right? So we know physicians, surgeons, and things like that. Chiropractors cannot prescribe medications.
I knew I had that. That's one of the questions in the textbook, and I couldn't find it in the book, but I thought that was the answer.
Yeah, chiropractors cannot prescribe medications. Holistic doctors who are, who do not have that board certification, they cannot. They can have their board certification from the holistic environment. But if they are not MD certified and through the MD board, they will not be able to give the medication or prescribe
So why is that?
because they have not completed the board certifications that's required. A chiropractor is not actually a
Okay.
doctor. hmm
Okay. Okay.
So they need to complete those type of board exams to get that license. Because basically, you have to have a license to give these type of prescriptions. Now, a dentist can prescribe amoxicillin because they may say, "Hey, we want to, treat it for an infection before we actually perform surgery on it or work on it." They can also prescribe pain medicine, but it would be weird to see a dentist prescribing acid reflux medication.
Right.
That's them kind of abusing their power in a sense because a dentist is for the oral, unless there's some strange situation that's going on. But for the most part, you're not going to see a dentist prescribe that sort of medication. Um, it would be weird to see an optometrist, prescribe medications for a foot. Somebody is having pain in their foot and they're prescribing, foot cream. It's like, wait a minute, what? So
Yeah.
these doctors have the ability to prescribe the medication, but they have to prescribe it within their specific space of
With their
practice.
real. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
within
That makes
their
sense.
scope of practice is
Right.
what's the terminology.
Okay.
And then we have OSHA, which is very understood. I mean, OSHA is if you've been working in not the medical field, but if you've been working in the field of just kind of going to work and being an adult, you're going to know what OSHA is.
Hmm.
And OSHA says that there should be some sort of safety data sheet on site that tells people what to do in case of a spill, in case something comes in contact with their eyes. You see OSHA, really show up a lot at chemical plants. They show up a lot at places where they're going to be working with some type of hazard drug or some type of toxic, chemical, and they're making sure that those people who work there are protected by this, rule and or this law. When we think about OSHA in the pharmacy, we know that we got to have it in retail, but then when we're working with chemotherapy medication, when we're working with, compounding, really big thing to make sure that we are following OSHA and that people are being protected as they should. Recall drugs. This one is really big. This is a big, big, big one. Recall drugs. Class 1 is death. Class 2, serious harm. Class 3, minor. Not really gonna cause nobody to go to the hospital. Class 3 is like you ate the bread after it expired, but it didn't have no mold on it. You ate that bread, your body was fine.
Hold on. Repeat that because it cut out.
Class 3 is like you ate the bread that was expired, but it wasn't molded, so you ate
Oh,
it
okay. Okay.
anyway,
Okay. Okay.
and you
Okay.
were fine. And then class 2 is like you was cooking. Somebody is cooking. I'm not gonna put this on you, but somebody is cooking. They accidentally, cut themselves, and it's a little deep, and they have to be rushed to the hospital to get stitches. And then class 1 would be like somebody, and I just give everyday,
Yeah.
examples. Because child, everything don't have to be about pharmacy for you to understand the concept. Because it's really just about the concept of pharmacy. And then class 1 would be like, somebody was this is a horrible example, but it's the only one that's coming to mind right now. If somebody was hit by a drunk driver, most of the time, when you hear those type of stories, you kind of pretty much know that it's gonna be that it was fatal.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, all righty. And then this is our last slide of the evening. And this one here is about the Combat Methamphetamine Epidemic Act. This act came about in 2005, and it came about in 2005 because people were using or do use Sudafed to create crystal meth. They use Sudafed to make crystal meth because there is an ingredient in Sudafed called pseudoephedrine that people can use to make crystal meth and get high off of. So when the government found out about that, they were not happy. And they said, you know what, we got to put some restrictions on this Sudafed. We got to put some restrictions on anything that ends in a D. So have you ever gone to the pharmacy and seen certain things? They have the cards on the aisle, but when you go to grab the medicine, it tells you go to the pharmacy.
Yep, and then they take your license.
It is because that medicine has pseudoephedrine in it, and that medicine can be used to get high off of. And they want to monitor how often the person is taking this medication. They want to make sure that the people are not getting more than the allowed amount at a time. Oh, you went in and out.
Oh, am I back?
Yeah, you back.
Okay.
They want to make sure that these people are not getting more than what they should be getting. So it's only 9 grams per 30 days. Once the person hit 9 grams, they can't get it. And it's not just 9 grams per person, it's 9 grams per household.
Per household.
Because if I go and then my son go and my husband and my other son go and we all have the same address on our license, they're like, it's already 9 grams in their household. Y'all better try to make it work.
Okay.
You know, and I remember working in the pharmacy and people would legit come to us with this type of concern. But we couldn't give it to them, and they would be stuffy and red, and it's like you gotta wait till your 30 days is up. And it's not anything we can control because now they make it to where the pharmacy tech or whomever is helping that person has to scan the license. And when they scan the license, it pops up in the machine. And the machine, if they've exceeded the amount, the machine won't even let you ring it up.
Bring it up, yeah.
So it's like, y'all don't be mad at the people. They just doing their job, honey. The machine is stopping it, okay? And then at 3.6 grams in 1 calendar day. So somebody can buy 3.6 grams in 1 calendar day, but it is 9 grams per 30 days. And it is kept behind the counter. Okay. This is a jam-packed lesson. So kudos to you. Shout out to you for keeping up with this. And you know, showing up for yourself tonight. Definitely proud of you. For those of you who've been watching, thank you for watching with us. I plan to come on live every Tuesday. Me and my student Aisha, we're gonna be working together every Tuesday for her to complete her pharmacy technician course with us. And so basically, we want to give you an opportunity to peek in on her journey, to see her, watch her through her journey. Last week was week 1, and this is week 2, right?
That's right.
So if y'all want to see what it's like to go to LW Pharmacy Technician School, this is your opportunity to see that. And then you can also jump into the chat and ask questions. Tonight, the chat was not being friendly to us, but we found out it's because of our settings. So we will change them and make sure that next week you can participate and be a part of it. Next week is Thanksgiving, so
yeah. So we probably will. I don't have class next week. Do I have class next week?
No class next week.
Okay,
so it'll be the following week, week 4. So when we come back, it'll be week 4, y'all. Okay, y'all. Well, thank y'all so much for watching, and we will see you all next time right here, same place, same time. Make sure that you do check us out. Okie dokie. Bye.